One of my favorite features whenever I play a game is the bestiary. As a gamer, I fit the category of a completionist. I play for the story and gameplay, especially if it's a sticky game, but I also play for the achievements, because it gives me a sense of completion. And more than that, I love having a place in-game that shows my achievements and stats, and a bestiary is the perfect combination of both. Let's first define what a bestiary is in the context of games. A bestiary is a feature usually outside of the regular game loop that catalogues all the creatures, enemies, or characters a player encounters throughout the game in a sort of encyclopedia.
Oh, you think it should be pronounced encyclopedia?
In the bestiary, you'll usually find things like the name and description, visuals, basic stats, background information, as well as encounter information. Of course, it's not exclusive to just these things, but most of the time that a game has a bestiary, this is what you would expect to see. And sometimes a game is so good at integrating a bestiary into the game, you don't even realize that it is exactly that, a bestiary. As a person growing up in the era of the GameCube and Game Boy, let's take the two Ps as an example. PP, P Pokemon, and P Pikmin. I loved playing these games. I played them constantly, and they had their own sort of bestiary within them. Pokemon had the Pokédex, and Pikmin had the Piklopedia. I really liked Pikmin's Piklopedia because I enjoyed being able to view the enemies in the game in a non-threatening way. I remember when I played this game, I was always feeling stressed out. It is kind of a scary game, and unless it was a bread bug, getting a good look at enemies was always hard to do. But with the Piklopedia, I could take my time. I could feed them carrots, and I could almost demonsterize the enemies. They're just hungry critters in the wild, same as you and me, trying to survive the day, all whilst looking for their next meal. Pokemon's Pokédex is another great example because it was heavily tied into the game and the franchise as a whole. Gotta catch 'em all. It's literally the Pokemon slogan, and the only way that you could know if you've caught them all is by viewing the Pokédex. You relied on the Pokédex as a form of actual gameplay, whether that's just reading about a Pokemon or finding where they could be found on the island. Whatever it is, you were using the Pokédex actively. To extend on that, for a game like Pokemon, it's not just good for the completionist. With every generation of Pokemon that has come out, it became increasingly difficult to keep track of all the names and IDs and types. So the Pokédex actually became a way to reliably retain information. If you've seen the Pokemon, it'll be there. There is no, what was that yellow Pokemon called? The one that was in the main show that everyone loved.
It's Pikachu!
I think it hated being in a Pokeball.
It's Pikachu!
Of course, Psyduck. No, I'm just joking, of course. Who would forget Psyduck? But that's my point, it removes confusion. It became a way to always have access to the Pokemon, and it appeared in every mainline Pokemon game, so you always knew where to access the information. So, bestiaries are convenient, they're fun, they're simple, and they're a great addition to games. Which brings me to my game. This is Atlanta TD, my roguelike tower defense game set in a cosmic reimagining of ancient Greece, where you control multiverse variants of ancient Greek gods. I've been developing this game for nearly 3 years, and one of the very first features I added to the game outside of the game loop was the bestiary. I wanted a place where I could have access to information on the characters and the enemies, where I could see different stats or upgrade my characters outside of the main game, or even learn about my character's abilities. And this has been a feature that I have been iterating on for a long time. Now, I have been using version control for this entire project, so lucky for us, I have access to all the iterations of the bestiary that I have made. Let's jump around, see how it's developed, and I'll also give you some of the ideas that I have of where I plan on taking the bestiary in the future. The first place I'm taking you is March of 2024, so a little over 600 days ago when I first put the bestiary into the game. Now, right off the bat, you can kind of see where I was going with this style, but at this stage of development, I had no real idea how to make a pixel art game. I thought I did. I'd done pixel art games in the past, but I wasn't following any constraints, so I was getting a lot of mixels, and I seriously pinned this down to a Unity quirk. But we can see how the bestiary looks in its bare bones, and I think a few of the scripts that I used here were the foundations for the scripts that I have today. This era of the game is also when I was doing a super limited color palette, which I still love the idea of, but as the scope of the game increased, the limited color palette became increasingly difficult to stick to. But I still think this is something that I'd love to try again in the future. Let's jump forward now to July of 2024. During this phase of development, I was going really hard on the tweening and the visuals popping out on you. Again, during this stage of development, I still had no clue what I was doing with the pixel art. If we zoom in on the name tag as well, you can see the pixels get super distorted. But hey, I didn't hate this stage, and I still think the transitions that I used were kinda cool. was trying here as well to support upgrades and unlocks to the characters. The original idea for the game was that the characters would be unlocked by purchasing them in the Bestiary using a sort of in-game credit earned through playing the regular game. So this was the last area in 2024 where I massively updated the Bestiary. There were a few small changes, but nothing too different. The changes going forward though became a lot more frequent as I was spending a lot more time on the project, so very quickly things were changing and evolving, and the Bestiary was constantly being updated. In December 2024, I had a rude awakening about my reality of pixel art and basically had to accept that whatever I thought I knew about it was wrong. So I spent a few weeks basically redesigning the entire game to fit the proper pixel art style. I found a proper constraint, found a proper style, and committed to that. This meant having to redo all of the existing art, but it was also when I introduced a more extensive color palette into the overall game. Taking a look at the bestiary that I have at this stage, again, you can see the style I was going for, which I simplified the hell out of it without any tweens. You can see the characters as well were still using the unlockable system, but aside from the placeholder Unity UI, the pixels are starting to become a little bit more consistent. February 2025 had been nearly a year since I first introduced the bestiary into the game, and it was less than a year from when I made this video, but there are so many changes still yet to come. First off, we can already see a completely revised main menu, and loading into the actual game, we can see how it sort of resembles the game in its current state. A lot of the main game's UI was still using the original color palette, but you can see a lot of the foundations of what the game was to become. Jumping into the bestiary, we get this sort of updated design. Again, further work has been made on the pixel art constraint. It was still far from looking great, but there was a style I was going for. The characters at this stage are also now unlocked through gameplay, so the unlock button here has been removed from the bestiary. But we can now view the heroes, view the upgrade paths, and there's even a page for the enemies as well. Now, obviously there's still a lot of placeholder UI in this phase, but I feel like this was where I first committed to an aesthetic of how I wanted things to be laid out in the bestiary, and I would say it's pretty much the same to this day. The next major bestiary update came in June 2025, along with a slightly revised main menu. During this stage of development is when I started removing a lot of the placeholder UI in the game. We also have our first look at a new cursor, which was inspired by the Super Smash Bros. Hand. The main game has also had a slight overhaul with the first implementation of a global lighting system, and during this stage, the game's controls needed a lot of work, as well as the general feedback for better user experience. But the game was becoming functional. Taking a look at the bestiary, again, the pixel art consistency has improved, and the general layout almost resembles the final state that it's in now, with the scrolling area and the separation of the boxes. And I would say a lot of the code or scripts that were used are pretty much the same as what's used now. I also did more work on the upgrade feedback, reintroducing some tweening into the interface. I remember doing this and thinking that the design was pretty close to done. I couldn't see how I could improve it further. So aside from a few small updates, this was largely the state that it stayed in. I'll jump to September 2025, so 2 months ago from recording this video, as this was the build that I took to a local game dev meetup. So this was the state of it before I made a massive overhaul in the user interface design. Right off the bat, we can see I have recentered the main menu buttons, and jumping into the main game, we can see the first biome has been completely redone. There was a lot of in-game interactions that I had to completely overhaul from the feedback that I got at this game dev meetup, but this was the state of the game at that time. Jumping over to the bestiary, we can see there's not too much difference from the previous month, but the scrolling and overall layout had been cleaned up slightly. A lot of the positioning and placement of things are still placeholders, but the overall layout is pretty set now. Not too much else to say at this stage, so let's jump into the current state of the bestiary. Immediately, we can see the main menu has had a bit of love. Still not where I want it yet, as I do want to include some of the key characters as part of the background, but it's slowly getting there. I've updated the background out of the boxes to the in-game background, which I think works well, and jumping into the actual game, we can see a lot of visual changes. We can place our characters, navigate around the scene. The characters also do have their own animations as well. At the moment, there's only 4 characters fully animated, but enough to get the concept of the game across. There's still a bit of work to do with the hero card that I'm not completely happy with, and that's because I'm currently working on updating some icons for abilities, so the cards need to fit that design a bit better as well. Again, we're out of placeholder territory and is completely functional, which is good. Back in the main menu to the bestiary, we can see probably the biggest difference to date. If we compare it back to where we were originally with the design, I mean, it's night and day. It's starting to take shape and also starting to feel like an actual commercial game, which I love to see. So that's 600 days of working on the bestiary, and I'm super happy with the state that it's in. But it does introduce a question. How necessary is a bestiary? Ultimately, it depends on the game, but I do think there's certain types of games, namely roguelikes or deck builders, where it is almost a necessity, and that's because of how expansive the game is. Obviously, if a game is big enough, there's likely to be resources online to find what you're looking for. But if a developer has the capability to build that into the game as a feature, then I think it's an extremely easy way to keep a certain demographic of players invested. For me, if I'm playing a game that has a bestiary or some kind of equivalent, and maybe this comes from my time playing Pokemon, my goal with the game is to just see that complete. I want to see and feel that I have done everything to complete the game. What do you think? Do you like bestiaries in games? Do you think they're necessary, or do you think I spent 600 days working on this for nothing? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed and you want to support my channel and my game, then interacting with the YouTube buttons helps push my video out to other people. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.